is a fairly static company in terms of its presentation, so you like kind of got some leeway in terms of that. But like AEW in like 2019 compared to 2021 is a different company. Never mind 2021 to like now.
Yeah. I also just think it didn't help that they announced it so early on. Like they just made
Announcing it early on was like the biggest like gift and curse because like it was a no-brainer to announce it when they did. Like they obviously had plans for it,
yeah.
and like 2K20 had just come out, so like you have all that bad press on that, and you just say like, oh yeah, we're gonna do a game, and guess what? We've got the guy from the Yaki games to do it. It's like, oh yeah, it's easy. It's easy, like it's easy money in some sense, but I don't know. It's just
It
a
was.
lot of wasted
I
potential.
think they completely underestimated how complex it would be to make a wrestling game.
Absolutely. I think some of like the decisions, whilst I can understand them, I don't agree with like stuff that like. I know it's beating dead horse. It's fine. The mini games, whoever thought of that idea, I know the idea was probably because it was on the Switch, but my god, what a stupid idea!
I think the idea is fun, but
It's a fun idea, and like SVR06 on the PSP does it quite well. But SVR06 on the PSP is also a fully featured game.
yeah, that's the problem
Outside
that
of that,
it took time away from that. That's like the problem with it. And also like
and like,
I think like the Aki guys they haven't done wrestling games in a while. And even
yeah,
wasn't Jukes involved as well?
Ukes and Kenny
Jukes?
apparently had a bunch of like creative differences on it
Ah,
because like Ukes wanted to make a game that was similar to like the old Smackdown games. Kenny wanted one that was like closer to like the Aki games, and instead of being adults and thinking, I know what we can do. We've got this thing called Day of Reckoning. It's a good balance between the both. Why don't we just do something like this? They like apparently had a bunch of fights about it, and to the point where Ukes essentially said, "Fuck you, listen, piss off. We know what we're doing with this wrestling game thing. We've done
yeah.
it before. You don't." And I think it was just an entire mess of things.
Yeah, but like that's the thing, the Aki guys they haven't done or they haven't made a game in ages. Like
Yeah,
game development was like completely different beast between the last time they worked on the game and Fight Forever. So I think they just completely underestimated how bad it would be.
oh yeah, definitely. Because like you can see how like, especially like the uh time constraints they have as well. You can see it all over like the presentation of Fight Forever. Like as much as they try and like modernize that with like DLC, it's painfully obvious that game was like designed. That roster was designed for the game to come out in like 2022, and it just wasn't ready at that point.
Yeah, as Sponge also just said it, like he was initially hyped for the game, but after 2 years, the hype was just kind of away from him, off of him.
Yeah,
Like
same.
that's just the problem. They announced it way too early, and people pressured them to release it, and because of
Mm.
that, they just worked faster and then brought out a half-baked game.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, the ugly truth of like modern video games is for a fully featured AAA game nowadays, it's you're looking at a 5-year development cycle, and they squeezed that son of a bitch out in 3.
Yeah,
Commendable, but also insanely stupid. Like if they had took like a couple of extra years before announcing, and then announced, and then like released a couple of years later, it'd be in a much more better situation. Yeah, they had to like even just from the stuff like LT's just said the corners they had to cut must have been nuts, and like even from the stuff that like Sprite has data mined from that in terms of, like sound files and such. Yeah, they apparently cut a lot of corners and left a
yeah.
bunch of stuff out.
I also agree with. the controversial take Sponge posted. Like, I mean, first he says it's really limiting to just limit yourself to a 20-year-old game, which is true. And I also agree that No Mercy is overrated. I see the appeal, but I never got into the game. I'm not a fan.
For me, the Aki engine is like the peak of wrestling game design, but that's more so because my experience is playing Virtual Pro. I don't think it's the best at replicating like a Western wrestling experience. I think this is going to be my controversial take. As a general replicator of WWE TV at the time, SmackDown Just Bring It is a better representation of WWE like in that sort of time period than No Mercy is.
Yeah.
Which feels insane to say, but it's just like there's a certain like kineticness that they have. The Aki games just kind of don't. They forego in terms of like a slower, more deliberate sort of experience.
Yeah, that style in terms of company and game style, that is also something that is pretty important that gets overlooked too much. Like, I think the Aki games are better like simulating based games, I would say. While it's like the Smackdown games, they were just super arcadey, which fit WWE at the time.
Fit WWE because they were having like 2-minute TV matches.
Yeah, and like I think the worst offender of this are the ECW games. Like they were like on the Raw and like they were really bad. And it's like the least ECW thing imaginable.
Genuinely, like a better representation of ECW would have been something like backyard wrestling, where you just go full balls to the wall with it, like full fantasy, like environments and everything.
Backyard wrestling is also like a game that is wasted potential for me. I think it's
backyard wrestling's insane. I think
like
backyard wrestling on a better budget would have been so cool.
It's fun to play for like 10 minutes, but then it becomes extremely repetitive.
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen, like, we're talking about like how the Aki games don't really represent like American wrestling at all. I would have been really interested to see what WCW, like their WCW, like the 2000 game would have looked like, just after playing like Def Jam, because Def Jam's actually quicker as a game than like No Mercy or Virtual Pro is, and like it feels a bit more like in line with something akin to the SmackDown games in terms of its like the pace of its game. I don't know if you've ever played.
I never played those games. I was mainly like SmackDown. SmackDown was Raw.
Yeah.
I also had Raw Zone, which sucked.
Oh, I grew up with Raw on the PC as well.
Sponge just mentioned KOC 2, which is also like really good.
In a weird sense, I'm not too hot on KOC 2. Like, I can watch it, but like, I don't know, I just don't really get gratification out of playing it in a sense. Like, it's almost too deliberate for my tastes.
I think, like, what you're saying, it's the same, like both this game and Fire Pro. Like, they are fun games to watch, but not necessarily to play.
Yeah, same with All-Star Pro Wrestling as well. But those games are quite interesting to watch. But
All-Star Pro, I don't remember that.
That is a game series based around Japanese wrestling that was made in the early 2000s by Square Enix.
Okay, yeah.
They look amazing. The games look amazing. But they're like a bit slower as well and like very simulation. There's like a spectrum of wrestling games, really. I think.
Speaking of like older games, have you ever figured out why the Senjo game doesn't work?
Women's game? Not Yeah, and I've spoke to like 10 different people about it, and nobody can figure it out.
It's so frustrating. Like,
I want to play that game so bad.
I
I
wanted
want
to
to.
play it on stream, but like it just doesn't work, and
Same.
it's god damn it.
I still haven't. I still haven't even managed to data mine the announcer files yet. I can data mine the soundtrack, but not the announcer files, and that pisses me off because I want to use them so bad.
Like, the game looks so good. Like the animations, they're so clean for the era.
One of the best animated games I've ever seen of that generation.
It's really intriguing. I want to play this.
Anybody who's like watching the stream now and don't know what we're talking about, go on YouTube and search like AJW PS1 game and just look at like some of the animations there, even of just like the reintroductions. They're like so smooth, it's uncanny.
And like
It's
like
amazing.
it's PlayStation 1. Like
Yeah.
compare this to Smackdown animations and shit. It's night and day. Also, I'm on a really good pace right now.
I've got like Shibata's theme playing in my ears right now, and I feel so inspired. I just like I'm locked the fuck in.
No, Eddie, please
And
don't.
it's great. Have you ever seen that meme someone made? It was like Katsuyo Shibata Pro Skater. It was somebody like texture modded Tony Hawk's Pro Skater to have a Shibata model in it and just played Shibata's theme in the background.
Don't
It's
think
awesome.
so. It's
I'll have to see if I can find it. I'll send it you later.
okay, yeah. And we have the world record with 55.
Oh
Still
shit!
16
Hell yeah!
seconds left. 56. I don't think I'm getting another one because Adrian is taking a sweet little time. Yeah, that's.
Triple H, stop trying to fuck on me.
Ah, god damn it. Wasn't enough.
Oh,
56.
I'll piss off with your high knee bullshit, Triple H.
Let's go.
Oh, would you fuck off, Triple H?
And of course, go. Ni. There we go. 56. That was my goal. Getting a
Hell yeah.
55 plus. Holy shit, I've been streaming for 4.5 hours.
Holy shit,
That
that's
was not
crazy.
how I expected this to go.
Now I've got Cena fucking on me as well. Oh, this isn't mean as
Nice.
well, huh?